Let's talk about the Canadian election. The Canadian election was crazy. This is a historic upset. This is a historic upset. Pierre Poilievre, he was, you know, favored to win. He was looking like a roaring lion. At the beginning of this year, it looked like it was going to be Pierre Poilievre was going to be the new Prime Minister of Canada. And yet, just within a few months, Pierre kept going down, 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 and then Mark Carney kept going up, 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 up. What is the reason for this? This is a strong repudiation of Jan Fuhrer, of the authoritarian fascist, oppressor, molester, the Epsteiner predator. This is a repudiation of who the empire had elected. All that bluster, all that shit talk. We're going to take Canada. We're going to take Canada over. We're going to make Canada our 51st state. We're going to do trade wars. We're going to use tariffs. We're going to bludgeon the world with tariffs. We're going to use our heft. We're going to use our role as, essentially being the leader of the world, or our strong economy, and we're going to bully the entire world into submission. The thing with a billy club, you go around with a billy club threatening people. Well, one of two things can happen. Some people will submit. Other people will be so pissed off and infuriated, they're going to say elbows up. And that's what Mark Carney, they're talking about elbows up, because in hockey, you get into the hockey arena with elbows up. You get ready to fight. You got to get that hockey puck. You got to get that hockey puck down the ice, and then you got to score that hockey puck into the goal. So goal. Mark Carney won, this is a historic upset. This is incredible. And they have snap elections, so, maybe we should look into snap elections. Maybe we should start understanding these snap elections. I think it's really smart that when the country loses confidence in a government, then the government dissolves and a brand new government is created. And so this is, France does it, Germany does it, Canada does it, and all their governments, all the governments collapsed, and then they reelected new governments to realign with the brand new world position. And now we're stuck. And because we got fixed elections, we're stuck no matter how terrible, the approval rating, no matter how low the confidence level is with our president, we're stuck with them unless we're able to get some sort of impeachment or constitutional convention set up. So this is a historic night for Mark Carney. Who is Mark Carney? I'm not for sure exactly. I want to kind of keep on looking at this. Here's some other huge news. Pierre Poilievre, not only did he not become the next prime minister, he lost his own seat. The elections in Canada are a little weird because you have the House of Commons. So you got 343 seats that are up for election. They vote for their representative, their local representative, and if there's a number of local representatives that get elected, then the leader of that party becomes the prime minister. So nobody voted, for the prime minister except for the little district, the 343 district. And so that's incredible. That's incredible. Pierre was essentially the leader of the Conservatives, and even if the Conservative Party would have won, since he lost his election, the Conservatives would have had to have picked some other leader, whoever the new leader, would have been. But he lost his seat. He lost his seat. And I'm not for sure what happened with Jagmeet. I'm not sure if Jagmeet lost his seat either. And then I want to take a look at this. You got David Dole said this: Liberals just short of a majority, putting the NDP in the deciding seats. Jagmeet Singh loses his seat. Oh, shit. So both Jagmeet and Pierre lost their seats. They didn't just lose, the possibility of becoming prime minister, but they lost their own personal House of Commons seat. And then another big thing is the Senate. The Senate is appointed. The people in the Senate, they got like 108 senators. And then they still got the governor general too, which is, the auspices of the damn sovereign. So King Charles the Third is somehow, a part of this conversation as well. So there's a couple things I want to say about that. So I like being an American. I'm still pissed off about that T-tax. I like the revolution. I like the Constitution, and I like the Bill of Rights and the enumerated powers and everything that the Constitution represents. The three branches of government, the rule of law, elections. I like everything that the Constitution represents. But when I look at what Canada is doing, Canada got dental care. Canada got pharmacare. Canada got health care. And that's so important because think about the culture that in America, when somebody gets sick and they lose their home, essentially the culture is who gives a shit, who gives a damn. It's that's an opportunity, right? You get to take the guy's house, and well, no, Joey Joe and Sally Mae, they're sick and they're dead and gone, and who gives a shit? But when you got health care, then it's like, well, get some health care, go to the hospital, get it taken care of. When I think about, it's just heart, mind, body, and soul. You got to take care of your heart, mind, body, and soul. So you need education, and you need health care. And you need, something to... The pursuit of your own happiness should really assuage your soul. So David Dole is saying that that's the perfect result. It's the perfect result for Jagmeet Singh to lose his seat. And he's saying that the leadership race will be quick and painless, but he's saying that the NDP is in the deciding seats. That's not true. Here's how the election looks right now. This is according to the CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. You have the Liberals who have won 155 seats. The Conservatives won 133 seats. And then the Bloc Quebec Party, the Bloc Quebec Party won 21 seats. New Democratic Party won 5, and the Green Party of Canada won 1. So the Green Party of Canada still has a seat. You still have 28 elections that are undecided. Okay, so 28, there's 28 seats that we don't know for sure how they're going to turn out. And then you got the, the vote total there, which that doesn't really matter as much. Now, so this is remarkable because you just read what David Dole said. He says this puts the New Democratic Party in the chair as kingmakers. This is not the perfect result. This is not the perfect result. Jagmeet Singh is one of the most impressive politicians I've ever seen. He's smart, dynamic. He's the one that brought dental care to Canada. This is the thanks that Canada gives, Jagmeet. This does not put the New Democratic Party in the chair as kingmakers because they only won 5 seats and maybe 2 more. So 5 plus 155, they needed 172 to get a majority. So the New Democratic Party, if the coalition was the New Democrats and the Liberals, well, they only have 160 seats. Maybe with the 15, that'll put them, within striking range. If this, the seats go the way that it looks like it's going to go. But the way that things stand right now, the Bloc Quebec Party is going to have to be the coalition party if the Liberals don't want to work with the Conservatives. Now, the way that it looks like to me, the Senate seat is appointed, and I think it's appointed by the damn Prime Minister. So that means once the House of Commons goes one certain way, then the leading party in the House of Commons gets to choose who the senators are, and then the senators serve for life. And the Senate is similar to America because the House of Lords, it's a elitist institution which is supposed to be there for stability and for continuity. So the Bloc Quebec Party is in a perfect position to be the other party that could get you to the majority. Who is the Bloc Quebec Party? Well, they're essentially like a secessionist group. The Quebec is a French-speaking nation, and so the people of Quebec are kind of saying that they want their own country, they want their own nation. And what do the people of Quebec want? Well, they want whatever is good for Quebec. Canada be damned. Whatever is good for Quebec, and if it's good for Canada, if it's not good for Canada, it doesn't really matter. I'm sure they'll probably say, good things about Canada. But the Liberals siding with the Bloc Quebec Party, that doesn't get you the result that you want. What you wanted was essentially what you had under Trudeau, which was a minority government, and then they had to reach out to the New Democrats, and the New Democrats being kingmakers, or the New Democrats being prime minister. That's the ideal situation. So David Dole was wrong. This is not a perfect fucking result. This is not a perfect result. When Jagmeet Singh loses, that's a perfect result. What the fuck are you talking about? And then ultimately, who is Mark Carney? Well, we should look at, who Mark Carney is. And that does seem incredible that I don't see any, yellow seats. Like, where are the New Democrats are? I thought none of that went to the New Democrats. So who is Mark Carney? Well, let's find out. Okay, so he's been a banker, right? He was a banker, and he was the head banker of the Bank of Canada. Then he was the head banker of the Bank of England. So he was the 120th governor of the Bank of England. He was the Bank of Canada deputy governor in 2003, 2004, senior associate. Then he was the 8th governor of the Bank of Canada for these 5 years, responsible for Canadian monetary policy during the 2008 financial crisis. Donald was talking about how Canada doesn't allow our banks into Canada. Well, the banks actually are the ones that caused the financial crash. So that does make me wonder, like, okay, well, how is Canada's economic system set up? They don't have American banks, so I guess they got Canadian banks. Do they have King Charles III Bank? But this guy's a banker, and so you'd like to think he understands bonds and monetary policy and shit like that. But being a banker, I mean, I guess being an American, I think of banksters as gangsters, and gangsters aren't any good. They care about their pockets. They care about their pocketbooks. They're the ones that want you to go to the hospital so you have a health crisis so they can steal your house, pull the rug out from underneath you, take your land, take your house, take everything you've ever owned. Create a Dust Bowl situation where all the Okies from Oklahoma will have to, go to California and work for pennies on the dollar, and then it just is devastating for everybody. It's a wonderful life. There used to be savings and loans banks all over the place, and the whole point of the savings and loans banks was to get people into homes, because that's good for the country, it's good for citizenship, it's good for the economy, it's good for the individual, working class, middle class people to own their own homes. So what kind of Canada are we going to get with this guy? He spent 13 years at Goldman Sachs. I mean, Rahm Emanuel was I think he's at Goldman Sachs right now. He left Goldman Sachs to join the Bank of Canada. So this, I don't know, I guess I really need to look into the specific policies. Is he going to be like savings and loan? It's a wonderful life. Get more Canadians into homes. I guess I'll just sort of talk about the things that I know, and maybe I should just read up more on this Mark Carney. But Mark Carney, he wouldn't call the genocide the genocide. He talked about how we need to save the hostages. But he also said that we needed humanitarian aid, and that he said that he believed in a two-state solution. And so he was essentially, he's saying that the Palestinian people are a people, and that but he also said that the two-state solution wasn't ready just yet. The hostages, the 20 hostages, do you see how this is such a severe overreaction? This is so ridiculous and disgusting. It'd be like an ant kicking a giant, and then the giant just smashing all the ants of the land and continue to smash all the ants of the land because remember that one time you kicked me? Yeah, okay, 20 hostages, but 400,000 fucking people are dead, mostly children. Right before he got elected, there was, that Vancouver terrorist attack where the guy drives through, a bunch of food truck, festival. And then you just had the same shit happen in America. Somebody drove through a daycare and killed 4 kids. And while those individual, acts of terrorism is disgusting in of itself, because people are getting used to mass carnage and a bunch of fucking dead bodies on their TV screens, it's just disgusting. It's disgusting. It's like people are getting, they're getting used to it. They're getting complacent. And if you get used to a bunch of dead bodies on your TV screens, I don't know. I think of America as a failing empire. We're in late stage capitalism. And what happens in late stage capitalism is a rise in fascism, because what we need is, more crackdown and more, oppression. That's what we need. It's not what we need. If the empire is failing, what we need is to make sure our citizens are doing fine. Our citizens are in homes and houses, and that we have good communities. And I would love if we actually, loved our Constitution and loved our Bill of Rights. Because the whole idea is, so when I think about Canada being the 51st state, actually America should be the 11th province. America should be the 11th province of Canada because of the dental care, pharma care, and health care. But I stopped short of saying, that because they don't have a constitution or a Bill of Rights, and they're still under a damn sovereign. So I don't know if Canadians have a Bill of Rights. But we got a Bill of Rights, and people are getting kicked out for just speaking up against the genocide. So our Bill of Rights aren't really protecting us very much. So I'm not sure exactly what Mark Carney's policies are. I am happy for Canada, that they didn't go, that they repudiated. They basically impeached, this Fuhrer. The Fuhrer wants to take over Austria. Austria just voted, no, you're not. So now there's a strong, referendum against the Fuhrer. There's been a strong referendum against the Fuhrer, so if the Fuhrer wants to take Austria, that country was not yours to begin with. The country just loudly and proudly said, we are not going to be the 51st state. No, sirree Bob, we ain't going to do that shit. No fucking way. So it'll be interesting to see how the election ends off, see how many seats, if there is 7 seats, how close the Liberals get to a majority. Because if the NDP can get them over the finishing line, then okay, that might be all right. But Bloc Quebec is your, biggest third party, and then even the Conservatives. So technically, they got to get a majority to pass any legislation, and all they got to get is just whatever, 10 or 20 votes, and that could come from the Conservative Party. So maybe they'll have some conservative goddamn issues as well. If they do, some conservative issues, if the Liberals vote for something conservative and then they get, a big old bulk of the Conservatives to vote for them, well, they don't need the NDP, they don't need the Bloc Quebec, they don't need the Greens at all. It's not a perfect fucking race. I think the perfect thing would be a lot less conservative votes, Liberals within striking distance of majority, and then the NDP being a lot stronger. 7 votes for the New Democrats. You needed, 30 votes. You needed strategic voting in favor of the New Democrats. The Liberals were good at getting out the vote and then, essentially getting their guy elected. So, yeah, this is a big fuck you to the American president and the American decision to go full-on Nazi Hitler ball sucker. Good for Canada, I think. Hopefully the Liberals are good for the Canadian people. I mean, only time will tell. They're having a lot of issues with, home prices and crime and grocery prices and such. So we'll see how it turns out.